Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hey guys, in this video, Alvin and I are going to be giving you our bipartisan analysis on what we have so far for the 2024 election results.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just take it from here. I think my initial reaction is just that the night was probably beyond what most reasonable Republicans had in their wildest dreams, and beyond what most reasonable Democrats had in their worst nightmares. I think if you compare the maps in the presidency where Donald Trump has obviously won, we're waiting on two more states, but they're definitely going to go to Trump. If you look at the Senate map where Republicans have 52 seats, likely to be 53 at the end of the day, and you look at the House where they're very, very favored to take it at this point, like a 95% chance. This is beyond obviously what we predicted. We'll talk about that in a later video, but it's maybe even beyond what our top 5% scenarios were. What are your initial reactions?
Yeah, definitely a bit of a red wave here. We saw basically the entire country lurch to the right here. I would say
Yeah.
like it's got to be like a 6 to 7 point swing from from 2020. So you can see in that swing map there, very harsh. I believe, yeah, it's interesting because yeah, like the largest shifts right were in urban centers from what I could tell,
Yeah.
and big states especially Texas, Florida, New York. It seems like Cali as well right now are going to be like the states to shift. Oh, and New Jersey, shift the most to the right. Each of which are shifting like 9 to 10 points. Yeah. So basically, like across the board, yeah, like I came into this election definitely thinking that suburbs were going to be shifting left, and it was highly dependent on everything else. But essentially, what we saw is suburbs either not move or shift right, and everything else just blast to the right. So basically, the whole scale was broken here on the presidential level, and yeah, Trump definitely won very handily.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at this map, obviously everything you said is true. As we started off the night, things looked initially okay for Kamala Harris. I would even say maybe better for Harris than Trump. If you started looking at what started to come in the Indiana suburbs, they looked a lot better for Harris. And the early returns in the rurals looked better for her too. Weren't shifting too much to the right. But then as we got Georgia to come in, it very quickly the door closed on Georgia, and then a few, half hour later, the door seemed to close on North Carolina, where Kamala Harris just could not resist the rural surge. She also just, obviously the Atlanta, metro shifted to the left, but it was not nearly enough. And this was
Yeah.
only really seen in Atlanta because if you look at all the other cities, there was no shifts. I think Harris did stop some of the bleeding in the swing states where she had a better ground game than Trump. But overall, this was a complete rejection of the Biden Harris administration. And, the country wants to see a change. Um, yeah, I mean, also, obviously, another big story of the night, is states like New Jersey. Something like this is just very, very interesting. You have Harris only winning the state by five, probably the most unexpected result in any state. I don't know if you would agree with this, but New Jersey as a sleeper swing state, don't know if anyone ever saw that coming. Maybe Trump, because he had his little rally in New Jersey. You said little birdie told him that New Jersey's a swing state. I guess his birdie was right, but um, that's about it. I would say there's a lot of talk about turnout. I don't think this was a turnout election. I think it was a persuasion election because yeah, while Kamala Harris is going to get way less votes than Biden's famous 81 million, a lot of those voters are just switching to Trump, honestly. They're it's not that they're not turning out. They're switching to Trump, especially groups like Latino men and young
Yeah.
men in general.
I just want to note, I was looking at like some exit poll data. Like now, like exit poll data is like a little more clear because we're getting like we have more information. You know, they obviously like they're more thorough than they were when they were first released. And they're actually seeing like who people voted for and how different groups broke down. Um, Basically what we saw was, I mean, at least according to exit polling, white voters as a whole didn't really move. Like I believe educated white voters even moved left, like ever so slightly, like a point. Um, but the real lurch to the right was seen. It was seen somewhat in black voters, not as much as I expected personally. It was like a 3 to 4 point shift right, but among Hispanic voters, at least according to exit polling, it was like I don't know if you okay, like it's insane. Like it's like 30 points to the right. I kid you not. I don't think I've ever seen a swing at that level, but like at least according to exit polling, that's an insane shift. And I'm just like looking at like when you look at Hispanic counties, like I mean when you look at like Miami-Dade in Florida, or you look at southern Texas, we saw some of that in 2020. Those counties shifting right, and again in this election we see them blasting right even more. But now, like I would say that's kind of spread beyond that. Like you see this in the center of like major cities now. Hispanic voters are like driving that shift to the right. Like in North Jersey, like there's part of that reason New Jersey is decently close this year. It's because a lot of Hispanic voters live in that North Jersey area, and they were really helping driving those shifts to the right. Um, yeah, so I don't know. That's another takeaway I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like especially Latino men. I mean, yeah, you saw this shifts. I mean, Trump winning these, 80 to 90% Hispanic counties like Star and Hidalgo in South Texas, where immigration is surely a very big issue, but also in like Dallas and Austin. I mean, we saw these counties shift to the right, which, at least initially, now I guess some of them have shifted back, but it's just an insane move in a lot of these places. And yeah, especially in these states that we thought were likely or, safe Democrat, they started moving into the lean column. Maybe JD Vance's last minute visit to New Hampshire wasn't that stupid because I guess maybe their internals showed that New Hampshire was on the brink of flipping. Maybe there's a reason why Kamala had to go to New Hampshire. I don't know. This was insane. Trump visiting New Mexico on like 3 days before the election in Virginia. Guess that wasn't too crazy of a move. Um, and this is gonna have insane implications. I think we should start turning to the Senate now to keep the
Yeah.
video moving, where Republicans have now clinched 52 seats, way better than our predictions already, flipping Ohio as well as Montana and West Virginia, which were definitely expected. They held Nebraska and Texas at levels that we did not expect, especially Texas. I mean, Ted Cruz winning by 9. If Kamala just held the Biden margin, Colin Allred would have us in a nail biter. But she did not hold the Texas margin at all. The Texas margin was like 14
Yeah.
points. This is a safe state, and it might continue to be a safe state if Democrats can't move the suburbs and offset these Hispanic shifts that are going to be there for a long time. I think.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz doing well. Oh, you want to talk?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I would say another lesson from this election, I guess, is the ticket splitting. There's like
Oh yeah,
now
good one.
numerous races, like especially in the Senate, where that are going to vote for Trump on the presidential level, but are going to vote for Democrats on the Senate level. So obviously, I was really worried, seeing results for Trump coming in and wondering if all these Senate Democrats could survive. And a couple of them are going to hold on barely. Tammy Baldwin seems like she's going to hold on. Elisa Slotkin is going to be the next senator from Michigan, and it seems like in Arizona and Nevada, Dems are on track to hold on as well. But yeah, like as we saw in polling, Senate Democrats did very much overperform Kamala Harris. The problem the problem is Harris just did so bad at the top of the ticket, like, and the whole country lurched right on that. Like it kind of pulled them all these Senate and down ballot Democrats down and brought them into much closer margins than were expected.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys can always fix the house in 2 years. It's not, I mean, you guys are already favored to take the house off the bat, because of how things happen. Unless we get a 9/11, which I really hope we don't. You guys are definitely gonna be favored to take the house. Right now, probably, 2018, somewhat less than that, but A blue wave is likely coming. However, if you look at the red wave of 2024, it's almost 2026 proof, at least in the Senate, which is very, very important in terms of, appointing judges and justices to the Supreme Court and lower courts. You're going to have, like Luke said, Wisconsin and Michigan are done. Nevada and Arizona are 95% done. I would say Gallego and Rosen are 95% favorites. In Nevada, I would even say 99%. The only thing I'm hesitant to say in Arizona is we have like a million or 800,000 more votes to go. So I think Lake has like the slimmest possibility, but it's probably gone. And Pennsylvania is probably gone for Casey. I think Dave McCormick is winning this. Honestly, Casey's camp is trying to show that they're confident, but I think it's personally over. Philadelphia is almost done with counting. So there's not gonna be much there. It's just provisionals and
Hmm.
militaries. I don't know. It's done. I think Republicans are locked in at 53 seats. It's reflected in the poly market odds. They're pretty much
Yeah.
locked in at 53, barring some like Maricopa finding more ballots somewhere for Lake or Philly or Pittsburgh finding more ballots for Casey. That's about it. We're
Yeah.
basically done. And yeah, I would say another thing is Republicans down ballot. Their nominees were not that bad. With the exception of Carrie Lake, which underperformed Trump by 7 or something. I mean, if Republicans nominated a Doug Ducey or even a Blake Masters or Abe Hamadeh, I think personally they're going to win the Senate seat. But Carrie Lake being, some sort of like quasi Trump that's already a one-time loser, it's not doing the job. Trump doing his job, winning the presidency was big, but Trump, uh, like knockoffs, right? They did not do well.
Hmm.
But more like centrist or generic Republicans in the Midwest, for example, they held their own. The only reason why Baldwin and Slotkin are winning is because Harris isn't losing these states by a lot. It's within 1 or 2 points, so
Yeah.
they're going to do well there. And yeah, we're going to be seeing how 53 Senate seats is. But if you look at 2026, there are not many pickup opportunities for the Democrats. They would need to pick up 4 seats in order to flip the chamber now with
Hmm.
JD Vance breaking the ties. Obviously, the biggest ones that jump out here are North Carolina, where Roy Cooper can definitely bring a big challenge to Tom Tillis, and Maine, where someone like a Jared Golden would be very strong against a Susan Collins.
Yeah.
But something to note there is that Jared Golden used to work for Susan Collins. Collins gave him a job back in the day. I don't know if he would run against his former boss. It seems, it's politics, but I don't know if he would ever do that. He might though. And then Mary Peltola might run in the Senate seat in 2026 in Alaska because she seems like she's going down now. We'll talk about the House soon. But yeah, that's 3 pickups that technically are, possible. And then now you're gonna have to start looking at things like
Yeah.
Texas and Iowa, which is very, very difficult to see. I mean, Alaska's already difficult to see, but Texas and
I mean,
Iowa, eh,
I do think there is a reality where I mean the Democrats are probably going to try to target one of them. I'm going to say Iowa's likely it's pretty unlikely, but Texas I could see Cornyn. There's some whispers that Cornyn, the incumbent Republican, might retire. Um, because it does not seem like he's on track to get Senate Majority Leader. So there's some whispers that he might do that. And also there's now an open Senate seat in Ohio due to JD Vance
that's a
ascending to
good
the
point.
vice presidency. I mean, Mike DeWine is going to appoint a Republican there, but there's also some whispers that Sherrod Brown might rerun in 2026. But I don't know. We'll have to. I mean, obviously, we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But yeah.
Yeah, even if you guys do take Maine, North Carolina, and Ohio, though, you'd still need Iowa, Texas, or Alaska.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah, it's
if
a tough lift.
53 is basically a 2026 proof unless things get really, really bad for Republicans in the future. And at that point, I don't know if the Senate is really the biggest concern for America at that point. But moving on, let's talk about the House.
Yep. I mean, the House here is going to be razor thin. It does seem like, again, Democrats generally overperformed Harris, but it's just because Harris did so bad, like nationally, and like, yeah, like did so bad nationally. Democrats down ballot in the House races, they're not doing as well as they should be. It's going to be pretty close. I actually think Republicans might get there's a shot Republicans get an even narrower margin than 2022, but generally I think it's going to be about like the slim majority they had coming out of 2022. It's not really by any means a blowout. At least on the House level, while on the presidential level, it's pretty decisive. On the House level, it seems like they're only going to retain it by a couple hundred votes in like a few select seats.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the polling showed initially that Republicans would do better in the House than on the presidential level, but that has not translated. There's definitely a lot of split ticket voting, and a lot of these Democrat gerrymanders barely held on in a lot of these seats, um, like New Mexico, even New Jersey, and some of these other states where, Republicans moved the state by a lot, but no, like the Democrat, people in the House, like Nevada, even the gerrymanders all held on for the Democrats. I think this is going to be a story for a long time, is that both parties have gerrymandered their seats so well that there's not going to be big majorities for either party for a while. So
Mm,
that's going to be a lasting story. Tracking the final House seats at the New York Times, obviously Republicans have like 213, but there's a few more to go. Basically, if you look at Decision Desk, 214 is guaranteed because of this new House Cessna
yeah,
district. So you really only need four left. The Arizona ones and Alaska is already bringing you to 217, which look very, very likely. And then the rest is all going to come down to California, where the Republicans
yeah.
only need one more.
It's all
Yeah,
down to mail-ins in Cali, really. I think some of the closer ones might in like I think it's Cali 47th. Like some of the closer ones, I think are going to the Dems are just going to win them. But like once you get but in Cali, like a lot of those races, like Valadeo, for example, has like a 10-point lead right now. I don't think that can be overcome by mail-ins. Um, but yeah, but some of the other ones where Republicans have smaller leads, maybe the Democrats have a shot. But yeah, generally, I'm going to say there's like a 95% chance Republicans just keep the chamber here. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty slim majority, and we're gonna have to see if how effectively Johnson could work with that.
it's definitely going to be narrow, but I think that Johnson's going to do a lot better than Kevin McCarthy in 2023 because, he has the chamber and overall Republicans had such a good night that I think it's gonna, he's gonna have part of the credit. Trump backs Johnson, obviously.
Yeah.
They've been seen together a lot, and so I think he's gonna be fine as speaker. We're gonna see if he can gather these votes, but generally, there's not many Republicans in the House that defect. I think you're more likely hoping for Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski in the Senate to defect, but like we were talking about, Republicans with 53, they could afford both of them to defect on a justice or a bill and still have one more defection from anywhere else in the country and still pass it. Obviously, it was filibuster, but I mean, for things that require a simple majority vote. And yeah, that's
Hmm.
about the state of play right now. I guess we can talk about now about like what went wrong in the election prediction community.
Yeah.
What things went bad.
Okay, I mean, let me just start. There is a lot of election predictors and signs like of how an election might go that we could throw out after this election. A lot of stuff kind of got destroyed. We'll start. I'm going to start with Alan Lickman here. This professor from American University who's claimed to have predicted all of the last recent presidential elections. He predicted a Harris win. He was wrong. This he's decently famous in like the political world, and you see him a lot on like news agencies and stuff, and they have him on to predict the elections and stuff and see where things are going. Yeah, I have a feeling he's not going to be invited to those media programs as much anymore, because he was wrong. So there's that. Next is the Ann Seltzer Iowa poll, which was, it predicted a Harris victory in the state of Iowa. She lost the state by double digits. So that poll was massively off. Seltzer's usually incredibly accurate in Iowa. For whatever reason, she whiffed insanely badly this election in her one poll there. So there's that. We could throw that out. John Ralston, I'm not going to be as harsh with him. He's more of like, he's a Nevada analyst. He predicted a Harris victory in Nevada, a slim Harris victory in Nevada, and a Rosen win in the Senate. He seems more data driven than the other one, so I'm willing to give him more of a pass. But he was wrong on Harris winning Nevada. He was right on Jackie Rosen winning, but not on her margin. Um, so there's that. So a lot of those election predictors fell through. And then some other predictors, like the Washington primary and special elections, which I personally thought would be much more reliable as predictors of elections, were quite off as well. um like these are like actual people voting in like special elections and stuff, so you can see, oh, how does this compare to prior elections and stuff. My postmortems on those is basically just that maybe more educated voters were voting in those, and those don't represent the entire American population. So while those people might have been not moving or moving left ever so slightly, it's pretty evident that the rest of the nation is blasting right.
Agreed. You covered basically everything. A lot of these gold standards are gone. Seltzer Lichtman, of course. On the turn on Ralston, I mean, he did predict the Rosen Harris split of 5 points. Pretty good. So we'll give him credit for that. But I honestly think his bias just got in the way at the very end there, because a lot of the data he was analyzing looked really good for Trump. I thought he was going to say Trump was going to win the state for a very long time. His blog looked like he was going to do it. But I think his hatred for Trump honestly just got in the way of his final prediction. And he took Harris to win by a nail biter when he should have just examined the data and just predicted the Trump victory. Maybe same thing for Lichtman. Honestly, I think his keys aren't that bad. But maybe he needs to adjust the economic keys to like what people are feeling instead of the raw data, because it did not add up. And obviously, like, yeah, people were voting based on the economy, but people were not gonna vote in favor of Harris because of the economy, and his keys were wrong there. Honestly, I think it was a lot to do with his bias against Trump. Maybe if he interpreted the keys a little differently, which we'll see what he does tonight at 9 p.m. Or I guess when you see this video, it'd be yesterday at 9 p.m. But he is streaming, and he might change the keys to try to stay relevant. Anyways, things to be kept. Because some things we throw out, they're not good anymore. But things to be kept, I think number one is going to be Atlas Intel. And Atlas Intel predicted the Trump winning the popular vote. Only major pollster in the final days to predict Trump winning the popular vote, to be bold enough to do that. Their state level polling was absurdly accurate. In the state of Michigan, they predicted the exact margin down to the 10th decimal point. If you look at it in the head to head, right now, at least with the results that we have coming in, they were pretty much perfect in terms of like Wisconsin. They predicted only a Trump plus one compared to Michigan and Trump plus two that's holding on right now. You look at Pennsylvania, Alice Intel, Trump plus one, it's within a point. North Carolina, you see this, Alice Intel, Trump plus two. All these things are very accurate. And even Arizona, where Trump's going to outperform every other swing state, Alice Intel, Trump plus five.
Yeah.
They were on the ball, and they're basically perfect everywhere. They were perfect in 2020, perfect in 2022, now perfect yet again in 2024. They are becoming the new gold standard in polling. Anyone that gives them less than an A triple plus, I don't know what you're doing when you're aggregating your polls, because they were absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I will
Talking
say
about that,
Atlas was really good. Yeah, Atlas's polling was spot on. this election. Something else I'd say is I would say like compared to prior presidential years like 2016 and 2020, the polling miss was not that bad. I think generally like predicting the electoral college bias shrinking and the swing states moving left at least relative to the nation. So like when the whole nation like shot right like 7 points, the swing states only moved like 2 or 3 to the right. Predicting that, I think the polls as a whole did a pretty good job of that. And also like in terms of how far they were all off, like I think I don't think yeah like comparatively to prior presidential years. And tracking Trump, they did. I think overall they did a better job. They got a passable grade from me this year.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there were, unlike the Washington primary and whatever else that you were looking at, like things like this is gonna the polling industry overall, like the generic pollsters like Emerson, New York Times, these A and B rated pollsters that overall gave like were hurting a lot towards the end and gave a lot of ties and like Trump plus one, Harris plus one. I would say yeah, they get like a B from me. I mean, they were good in telling us that the election was close, and they definitely like some polls from Emerson, for example, in like the state of Iowa and Ohio were very, very good. Especially Ohio. I think they nailed the Senate and presidential level there, and the split perfectly. So things like
Hmm.
that make me confident that pollsters are going to be okay next cycle, especially Atlas. Um, but yeah, definitely some gold standards like
Yeah.
Seltzer have to be thrown out. I think another thing that I don't have up that is perfect yet again is the guaranteed loss rule, which I teased in a different video. It's based on economic indicators, um, on the misery index, like unemployment, inflation, etc. And the incumbent party always loses under the guaranteed loss rule. They've been perfect throughout presidential history in the United States, and they're perfect yet again. So if we see that ever again, I think that's another
Okay.
vindication of them. And the Gallup Party ID was decent. I think they had the race very, very close to the end. Maybe it was like D plus one or R plus one, but they
It
were decent.
was.
Yeah,
We'll have to
it
see
was.
how that reflects the generic
We'll
ballot. We don't know
see.
yet, but
We'll
yeah.
see if that the generic ballot is looks like it's going to be around tied or R plus one, maybe. I don't know. The popular vote's going to go to Trump by around 1 to 2 points, maybe
Hmm.
1.5. So yeah, definitely a resounding victory there. But yeah, I mean that's all I have to say.
Yep.
We'll turn to 2026 and 2028 in later videos. Also 2025, especially because I guess New Jersey and Virginia are actually going to be
Oh yeah, we got to look
competitive
at
now,
those.
especially New Jersey, right? Because like the work we've done. If you look at New Jersey in 2017, when Trump was in office, um, Phil Murphy, who's the governor there, only matched Hillary Clinton's margin, even though there was a lot of Trump backlash already. So
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting with Kamala only winning by 5 here. It might be closer. Virginia also with Glenn Youngkin in office. Obviously, he's term limited because you can't run consecutive terms, but that's going to be interesting. So, two governor races there we're going to turn to in the future. We'll be doing an analysis on our predictions, which were definitely wrong. We will definitely admit that. They were
Yep.
wrong, especially except the governor races. We did call that perfectly.
Oh yeah,
But
you're right. You're right.
other than that, everything else was incorrect. So we're going to be doing a post-mortem on that and talking about where we can improve in the future in terms of that. And I guess we'll also be looking at 2028 because that's going to be up in 4 years. But anyways, any last words before we clean this up?
Uh, Nothing in particular. Just just kind of sitting here seething as a Democrat, like, geez, we got a lot of work to do as a party.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I would have the same reaction if Harris won, but luckily I got to be happy my prediction was wrong this time around. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like on this video down below. Comment down below any thoughts or suggestions for future videos, as we'd love to look at those. Subscribe to the channel for our future content because elections never end. Ring that bell. Share this video with your friends and family. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.